Working. Okay, guys. Hi. What up? What up? It's Channy with Healing Elements, and I'm super stoked and super, super appreciative. I'm definitely going to get better about listing the information box. This is Renee back on the one question, and I talk a lot. Everybody knows that, and I did a couple of testimonies about the subject, past lives, and it's been intriguing me and really been profound lately. And I've come to a lot of, hard hitting and realization. So I wanted to ask Renee. I'm totally fascinated. I wanted to ask Renee about her experience because she let me know in a message that she does believe that there is some energized spirit that is with her currently in this timeline and was affiliated with life. So I have the chills. I could not wait, and I wanted to wait years. Like kind of natural to hear about it, because I've been struck hardcore in my heart, in my inner heart space. That when I had these, spontaneous visualizations of my past lives and then regressive therapy, it is just so I to be another stage in awakening. It's just so prolific because when I was stunned, it was very open minded. For me and my truth, stunned. So and how emotionally involved and how unbelievably parallel the themes were, and just how much there is more. Of course, there's so much to learn about it. So I wanted to know the first question. Like, tell me about anything you want about that. I want to know what brought on the realization that you that you could give in a past life, or that there was somebody who was your guide, or otherwise. I wanted to ask you, what you consider that little boy to be. So go ahead.
Yeah, cool. You're breaking up a little bit, so I'm just like picking up pieces. Yeah, I don't know if it's me, there's a storm here, or you, but I'll do my best.
You know what I do? I'm going to turn off the fan. So tell me if it, is that better? My fans?
Yeah, it's just a bit patchy and in and outy. I think it's a connection thing, but
Shoot. Okay. You know what? That'll suck. You know what? We'll go for it. If you hear my word stuff, no.
Yeah, all good.
Okay.
Yeah, so in terms of like past life stuff, it was something I was kind of like, oh, I don't know about that. Like, it didn't really make much sense to me. And then the first kind of real time that it came like really like powerfully into my field, once I kind of had like my sort of like spiritual awakening and was like connecting more to like myself and source, I started having like a little boy that would come to me kind of in my dreams, as visions, whenever I was doing like sound healings, meditations. There was always this little boy that used to come to me, and it wasn't like a scary feeling. It was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Like, there's this little boy. I can picture him so vividly. And I kind of just never thought anything of it. I was like, oh, this is a spirit. Like, it must be someone linked to me in some ways. Just, didn't really think much of it. Like, I knew he was, like, I loved him a little bit. At the same time, I've always had this, like, real fear of pregnancy and of childbirth. And not just like a fear, like, oh, I'm scared, it's uncomfortable, like most women have. It was like a real, like, cellular, like, the thought of giving birth sends my heart into palpitations, like my stomach. And it was like really bizarre. And even my mum used to say to me, like, it's weird how like fearful you are of childbirth. It's really strange. And I'd always be like, I do not want kids. I can't have kids. I just can't. Anyway, once I kind of, I was exploring more and getting readings and really like diving into my spirituality, it felt real important that I understood why I was so kind of scared and traumatized of the childbirth, and also like I really wanted to get to know who this little boy was, because at this point he was coming to me like every day, like to the point where a few times I had to be like, go away, like I'm trying to sleep. Like, it was real wild. So I went. There was about 3 different people, different ladies, unrelated, that did readings for me. And they all said, you've got a son, like you've got a little boy. And I was like, I don't have any kids. It's really strange. And then one of the readings I got said, no, it's from a past life. And I was like, oh, and that's kind of like what got me real interested in like doing past life kind of regressions. So I went on like a bit of a journey, because throughout, before that, I was like, why is all these readings coming up with me having a kid? Like, I don't have a fucking kid. Like, I don't want kids. So then it got to the point where I was like, okay, there's a reason. Like, there's the 3 people that don't know me have told me I've got a son as well. So then I went down a bit of a journey and was getting readings and doing meditations and working on it. And turns out that this little boy that's hanging around me is from a past life, like back in like the heydays, and I had there was two different people, because I went to two different women that said that I'd had like some sort of kind of like a fear that was frowned upon, and my child was taken from me. So I had like a really traumatic birth. We're not actually sure what happened, but both of them have said there's lots of blood. Your boy's being like ripped away from you. Like you're really upset. Like you're crying. There's blood everywhere. You're like, and we don't really know what's happened to him, but he's gone in this life. And hearing about this just used to make me cry.
I feel like I have chills. I feel like crying right now. That's how it's the truth. It's you. They say when you get the chills, it's the truth. Hey, I wanted to ask really quick. This is beautiful, and I'm resonating with it so truthfully for you. I wanted to ask, you know, what era? It was fascinating to me that I actually got a time period. Just wondering. For you.
Like 18 kind of hundreds. Like, you know, kind of like I'm thinking like, you know, like the Highlander kind of days, and like castles, and like it's kind of like I was like really broke, like wearing kind of rags. We have a feeling that was the help, and that the father was with like probably like, I don't know, like maybe like the king or something like that, which really resonates with me, because I've also had like throughout life lots of other dreams where like I'm in like castles and I'm in like rags and stuff like that. And then when I was in Scotland, I was like chills. Like I got such chills when I was there, and I like nearly started crying when I was walking around. Like I had a real emotional connection to that land. And when I watch like Highlander movies, like I watched Outlander, I get really like, my heart, my gut is really like, oh, I've been there. Like, I love this era. And everyone's like to me, why do you love this era? Like, it sucks. And I'm like, I fucking love it. I don't know what it is, but I've got like such a tie to this. So it's all links.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh, girl. I wanted to tell you. So one of the ones that I explored afterward was in Scotland. And it is so true. What you're describing is so eloquently put, the way that, you know, I mean, I got such chills when you were saying it. It's just the way that you are able to, you said you could tell that you were the help. It's so strange when I went into the regression, I'm sure you can agree that you not only see, I saw a vision like a movie, but I felt things that in that hour, that experience that I was there, obviously had happened before. I just knew what was going on. And like, you're so blowing my mind, because I actually have fascinations with certain time periods, but the Scotland thing I've always loved, been fascinating, like the Braveheart and then Outlander I did try to watch. I get emotionally stuck in those movies and really affects me as if I'm in there. And so now all of that from when I was little and up to this point totally makes sense. Now I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? I understand. So that is I got blown away with that story. That is amazing. So that is why I wonder, did you ever get to that was one of the questions, I'll just fast forward. Did you ever get to a death period? To, you know, ever find out in this life how you yourself died? Because they said that's very healing, and I have not yet. So I'm just wondering if you went.
I don't really kind of know. I know I've had the ladies that I kind of worked with to do. I ended up having to do a lot of womb healing, and it's been like a big process for me, because it's still quite cellular. Like I'm at the point now where it's like potentially I could maybe have a kid, but it's still a bit like I'm really scared. But they have said to me that the reason why this spirit and energy keeps coming through is he wants to come through. Like, see, he wants to come through and be with his mum in this lifetime. And like I'm told all the time, like I think by multiple people, like I think you're going to have a boy. Like even all my friends, like I can see you with a son. Like it's just this real amazing, crazy thing. So it's quite overwhelming for me, like as well, like being in a relationship. And it's like, well, maybe I want a kid because I feel like I want my son, like I want my boy because he was ripped away from me. So it's quite like a parallel, I guess, whether it's ready in this lifetime or not, and he does come through. I don't know, maybe, but it has created this whole new space, because I'm like, I think I'll be okay. Like if I do decide to have a child and he comes through, I know it's going to be him. So it's like, it's created this whole like other like dynamic.
That's beautiful. It's almost like he and your soul is creating this dynamic that he comes through in this way to you, in this, you know, this way that he was coming around you. And so you could get that womb healing and you could evolve to a place in which he can come and reincarnate. And that's just, I am so glad that I asked you to do this subject, because that is wild. And I believe it 110%, because, you know, it's your time to talk. I won't go off too much, but there were just, like I said, the parallels and the way I'm integrating that now into healing, unbelievable, because, you know, I say that I'm healed and I am for the most part, but a death of my father, best friend, whatever, that's going to carry on. Well, I realize all these things I keep on mentioning on my YouTube for 4 years. I do all these things. I'm constantly talking about it. I just mentioned it to you now. Well, the first one that I realized, which I know Spirit always gives you the most important that you need, you know, to work on right now in this life, was I was a young Native American and my father was a Native American. He was going to help some sort of colonial type of white men. And I was like, no, you know, and it's a long story, but basically he left when I was like 14, 15, and just me and a horse. He died. I had the feeling in this next scene years later that, you know how you know, that he was dead and that he had died. And so it was the abandonment issue. And I had to explore that shadow work, right? And I'm going, wow, you know, and so chills on my cheeks when you tell me that, because yes, it is something I think that spirit comes through and says, wow, you know what, let's give you a different way to look at that. You've been doing self-love, you've been doing all this, you know, psychological, psychotherapy, spiritual, how about this? And it has been stunning to me how effective and parallel it is. Wow. And to me, what is your opinion? I do not digress. It took me a while to really pinpoint it down like you. I thought, oh, okay, probability for sure. I'm open-minded about past lives, but you know, I really had to experience it, as you do most things, I guess, to hold it as your truth. I do not think that it is anything psychological at all whatsoever. I dissected it. I'm such an analytical person. There's no way, because there are things that I wrote down on auto writing. There's no way I would ever know. I'm not even into the 1700s or Revolutionary War. God bless them, you know. But I looked up this name. It's a damn captain, right where the damn state that I said that I was just mind blown. So, I mean, not that I had to get that proof for myself, but it just, I'm wondering, did you ever have that moment where you thought, am I making this up? I mean, because I did, and it's just recently, you know?
Yeah, of course. And because like, it's like dream states. It's like, I was just having random dreams. Like there's all this emotional stuff going on. Like it could be for so many reasons logically you could put it down to, but the logic mind is so limiting. It's just your ego trying to tell you, stay in your box. You know what I mean?
Oh no.
Yeah. There is like a few things, like I don't know if you resonate with this, but it's something I've talked about a lot of like girlfriends and then like groups. It's like sometimes you just know shit that you shouldn't know. Like my really good friend said that her auntie suddenly just picked like up a carver and just started carving, and it's just like stuff that she's never been taught before, stuff that she's never Googled before, stuff that she doesn't know a thing about, but she's probably like, she could have done it from like a past life and like medicines and stuff like that. Like you'd have this knowledge of stuff that it's like there's absolutely no way you can know that. And it's like when I see stuff like that happening and I've experienced it myself, it's like there is no way I know that. Like I do not know that. Like how do I know that?
It was not stored there subconsciously. You know, that brings up something that I feel that maybe could be past life related. I used to work with autistic children, and they call it savant. You know, one of the things that they are very notorious at doing is not being taught a really difficult skill. Like for instance, for 7 years, you know, I was with this child. The parents started crying because he walked up into the class. He starts playing piano. I mean, beautiful. I don't even know what it was. Chopin, but I mean, we were crying. I've seen a lot of really miraculous things in the special needs community. I think that they are tied in so much more to higher consciousness, right?
From them, yeah, because I'm more open-minded, connected to source.
Yes. And so either they're channeling maybe, you know, the Akashic records or whatever, the collective energy consciousness. But I do believe what I saw was something like it transferred me or whatever, you know, into a time period and space. And at the time, I didn't, you know, this was years ago. I didn't even say, you know, wow, it definitely probably, as I said, I did say it when I was like, after done crying, and I'm looking at that going, there's no way. There's no way that he could have this knowledge in his subconscious. Yes, maybe the cellular memory, but no way. It was divine. It was divine. So yeah, I mean, there's so many things.
I've got a similar thing. Like somehow I'm really good with like fires and cooking. And like even the other day, like we were doing like a little bonfire and my partner was like, I wonder if we could cook food in here. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. And I'm like moving embers and putting chicken in tin foil and like doing all this stuff. And he was like, oh, how do you know about fires? And I was like, I've never been taught how to do a fire. I was telling him how to get it started, like what wood to get. I just knew like the gathering of what pieces we needed and why it wasn't working. And he was like, oh, what? And I was like, I've never lit one. I don't know. I know what I'm doing. It could be just because I'm highly intuitive. You never know. But I'm like, oh, again, it takes me back to that era. Like I used to have to gather and hunt and stuff. So, yeah, it's really interesting. You just explain some things.
And like that, like, oh, sorry, girl.
We're so we just both got so much to say. It's great. I also think as well, like if something that's meant for you from like a past life can't come to you specifically, it will come around somehow near you. Like for instance, if I can't myself personally have my son, then maybe one of my best friends or family members might birth him instead. Like, do you know what I mean? So I do believe that the spirit and energies will come to you in another way so that they're in your sphere, but maybe you're not aligned to be the direct person for them to come through.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that it's such an entanglement when you can dissect that. I mean, it's like a flow chart. You could go off forever because yes, it could be connected, and I believe we can even, because there is destined, I think, occurrences, but we have our own opportunity to make our free will choice to go left or right, like a choose your own type adventure book, I always say. So I feel like, yeah, that's part of it too. Right here is another opportunity maybe that we bopped back into this timeline to see what, with free will, you know, without the memory or the real solid memory, I think we'd all go crazy if we had all that trauma that was really heavy. I think it gives us the ones that we need to kind of work on in this particular timeline. And I think I find it fascinating. One question you mentioned, so do you tell your partner any of this about past lives, and does he have any kind of thought on that?
I did actually, because we've just in like passing been like, oh, do we want kids? You know, we're 30, we're in love. It's something you talk about, obviously. And we've both been really open about it. And then I didn't tell him straight away, but it was actually while we were away for New Year's, and the subject of like marriage and kids came up, and I was like, had a few wines, and I was like, oh, he's open-minded, I can trust him. So I told him, I was like, oh, because I always say I know I'm gonna have a boy if we do have a kid, and he's always like, well, how would you know that? And I was like, so I just told him everything basically I told you, and I was like, I've got the spirit, he comes to me all the time. Told him what he looks like, and I was like, so yeah, like that's my story. And he was really great. Like, he's very open-minded. It's funny because he's like,
I was just gonna say, okay, he is open-minded. Yeah, that's cool. What is he like? Very kicked back? Did he just say okay, or what was his reaction?
He could see him ticking. He's like really science-based, so like he actually believes in like parallel realities, and like how time isn't linear, etc., because that's all science proven as well. So like he was kind of like, oh, okay, cool, like just like that's sweet. Like
it's probably normal. To him, it's probably normal, because that's the next subject, so I have chills right on to your partner. I was going to tell you that the thing that I figured out, and I watched this woman named Mira, and I forget her last name, for regressive therapy, but I really do marry spirituality with science. And so I feel as if that is the truth because of near-death experiencers and all kind of stuff, that time is not linear. It's going on in the past, present, and future all at once. And that I believe, and I really do believe, that we can even be simultaneously experiencing, obviously, these past and future lives right now. And I think that's what this whole therapy, I love it, with the future self talking to, your past self. I think it's gorgeous. And I think that that's perfect, because that's probably why he was like, yep, because if he believes in those things, which I believe are totally quantum, is real. I really do. And forever I thought that it didn't have anything to do, 10 years ago, I didn't think it had anything to do with spirit. Now I'm like, whoa, I'm like, that's what it is. That's the ether, So that's God.
Like when I'm like, yeah, we're living in our past and our future. It's all happening at once. It's like, I don't understand that. I don't get it.
Me neither, but I know it's true. Yeah.
We don't need to get it. It's even, I watched a documentary, and again, it was people with near-death experiences, and there was one lady who was clinically dead for 20 minutes. And like everyone had like pretty much morgued her up, bagged her up, and she came back to life, and she was saying all her experiences. Like, and I think while she was dead for 20 minutes, she had a vision, and somehow knew that her son was going to pass away at the age of about 16. And so she was like, didn't want to believe it. And it happened. Her son passed away at 16. And she was like, I'm so upset. I've been kind of dreading this age, but I was ready for it. But I know he's okay, because I've been to the other side, and I know he's fine. So I live in peace because of that. How the fuck would she have known that? I'm sorry, but like that.
Yeah. Is she the one in the life raft, the one that she was going down the river? Yes. I love that story. Okay, so Brittany, I got to get you guys all together. So on Fridays, I want to try to do something like at 3 p.m., which I don't know, it would be Saturdays at 10 a.m. if you ever are available, because I want to get Brittany and a couple other people. She is the person I first got this idea to do it. She had a near-death experience, and guess what? She tried to commit suicide, right? And so she went there, and the beings were there, and all the angels, her ancestors, and guess what? Her mom and her dog were there, but her mom and her dog, reality-wise, were alive. They said to her, Brittany, you have to go back. You have some work to do. Very typical. But you know what? You cannot do this because you have to be, in this lifetime for your mission. But guess what? The mom told her mom, I'm going to die soon, and so will Bear, the dog. She got back. That is exactly what happened. But she had that beautiful divine knowing, because of course she said, we'll see each other again. This is real, what you're experiencing. So how would she, just like that story, how would you know that? And how would you have, she now, I mean, she suffered with, on her testimony, she says she suffered with depression and suicidal ideation. And so when she came back, it's gone. And so you would think that it would even get escalated because of her mom actually did pass on her dog, but she had that absolute truth and that knowing, her personal experience to prove it. And that's what I wanted to say, is she is one that says, which I agree with you, cannot put that into my head in this world, I think, about time. However, I believe it and it resonates. However, she says that she understood it then. She says, yes, time is all happening at once. Like that's what's up. But she says, you understand it then. And even coming back to this world, she knows it to be true. She knows she was shown it, but she cannot understand in our limited, like you said, the brain is just,
brain is too small in that sort of stuff. It's not meant to. Like we're not you know what I mean? It's really interesting. Imagine if we all understood that. Would be, oh my God, it'd be crazy.
I know. You know, do you ever watch, there's a podcast I got invited, I'm so stoked. Tomorrow, I think it's like one of the first ones I've gone on. I'm so stoked. I've been watching for 2 years. I'm obsessed with near-death experiences. And some people think, oh, you're trauma from your dad. No, I've always been that way. I really have. I think it's because my goal is to be like a death doula, to be hospice care. I just really love taking care and nurturing. And I think that I can give so many people something, especially after my experience and then talking to people. So I just have been fascinated with people that say that, because there's something in their eye. Like when I talk about the unidentified flying object, look, I know what I saw and what happened. I'm not expecting anyone to believe, but it's the thing in my eye where I'm just like stunned, kind of like, look, this gave me an existential crisis. You can see it in these testimonies of the people, you know, and so it, I think, brings a lot of people hope. Anyway, he does that, just that near-death experience interviews, and then he's doing a little bit of like spirituality, things like that. So he's going to ask me about my dad and he had terminal lucidity. I don't know if you know what that means, where they are near death, and my dad was paralyzed, hemiplegic, and he couldn't talk, and he was not mobile for about 7 years. Well, he did something impossible. He sat straight up and pointed the arm in which was paralyzed. And I saw that, and he was pointing to the only empty chair, and I had telepathy straight up. Like, I mean, clear telepathy. His soul and voice said, do you see my mom? And then boom, he passed away. Like, it was so amazing. And so that's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow, but that's on tomorrow. So thank you for giving me kind of like confidence and practice just to be myself on these things. I just love it. Yeah. So all those experiencers, I mean, girl, I would say a good 80% of them say the same thing about that. And they're not even, they come down and they're like, hey, I wasn't even into quantum. Now I'm looking into physics because that is one of their principles. And I saw it for myself, you know?
Yeah. There was even like a doctor on another documentary I was watching, and she was like, I was the most unwoo person, and then until I had my experience, and now she's like, I don't fucking get it, but it goes against everything that I've ever believed before, and now I'm like kind of like in a bit of a crisis, because it's like I've been believing something my whole life, and now it's just all been like blown apart. She's like, I'm not an actual science or logic person ever, so if I can experience it and believe this, then like it's true.
Right? And don't you feel a little bit like bad for those people? Because I was always half and half. How about you? Like, did you, I mean, it was shocking and stunning for me, like an existential crisis where I'm like, holy crap, some of the things that are revealed to me, you know? So I couldn't imagine someone being totally atheist or totally just everything way. It probably is more than a shock than we know for them, you know?
And because I've always been very like open-minded. I've always just thought there was something a bit weird, but off of the ether, but like always knowing there's something else. And then at a younger age, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, like my grandpa passed, and like I knew before I was told. I was living in London, and my dad rang me like 24 hours later, and I was like, I know, he came and seen me. Like, he was on the end of my bed last night, and he was just like, what? And I was like, yeah, no, he's fine. And it's just that, like, for like someone like my father, he was like, what the fuck? How did you know that? Did someone ring to tell you? And I was like, no, Pop told me. He came and see me. And then like he was like, what? So it's kind of like, for me to grasp this concept is very easy because I've been experiencing it since that. Yeah.
True. So are you surrounded by people like I have been my whole life that are not mean about it, but are like, that are just like that? They are completely just like, what's like, they look uncomfortable maybe, or they're just like, you know, I don't want to talk about it the kind of sugar way, or just, it's not their thing. So they're just like, what? Like, you should have seen me the first week. I was talking about speckled horse. That's like the name of this horse in my past life vision, right? I'm like not joking about it, but I'm telling them because I was just wanting to, you know, shout from the rooftops. Oh my gosh, this is true. You guys check this out. I want you to get regrets. You know, I was like, I get like that. And I was surprised. I usually kind of back down, and I've learned my lesson, but I was so excitable. I'm going around. And so bless their hearts, you know, they're like, my kids are like, you know, but there is just no one. I think that my point is, I think a lot of people who really explore these type of topics, it seems to me to be common that surrounded by people who are just either intrepidatious about it or just not their thing, you know?
Yeah, I'm literally a split. All my best friends are like very similar to me, although I've also got groups of friends that just think I'm crazy, but they're all just like, okay, you do you kind of thing. My dad bit on the other side, but we just don't talk about it. He's just like, yeah, you're weird, like, or you're different. I don't understand, but like you seem fine. And my mum is very open-minded, and she's always had like crystals and like things like that. So I've got like a really good split. So I think it's been quite good because I've been able to just decide where I want to kind of land, or just like have landed where I have, without like the judgment. But I definitely know people who are in that boat, like surrounded by people that just don't get it, don't understand them, and just like shun them in a way, and that would be like really horrible. So I'm very lucky in that.
That resonates so about half and half, and what you said is genius. That I do that, just self-aware right now. I do that. I will direct obviously my energy in the right direction. So of course, when I realized that was enough for my babies, I'll pick up the phone, call my mom or whatever. So yeah, I'm really lucky in that regard too. Blessings to people who can share things with their mom. You know what I mean? Because it's just a blessing. My whole life, my mom was like that, just down to earth. Not a Kool-Aid mom, they say, but just really, really nurturing. And so it was surprising how many people would come to me and be like, oh, you're so lucky. And I'm like, oh, you guys don't hug, or like you guys don't go out together willingly. And there's just a lot of different stories. Like some of them were just, no, my mom's rigid, she works. You know what I mean? So it's like, I just found out, I always try to shout that out. So I just thought that about cool energy happens from, yeah. Right on.
But I've got a relationship. We've actually had a really funny one. Like my mum was really like ill while I was growing up, so I kind of had to look after myself. So we weren't that close, but like since we've become adults, like we've got that now. Like we've definitely got like a sister vibe. Like I can tell her anything, like everything. And like even my partner say like, I wish I could speak to my mum how you speak to your mum. And I'm like, that's the relationship we've got now because we've developed it. It hasn't always been like that, but like we have always been huggy. Like our family's been quite split and disjointed, but we've always been like, I've got you if you need me, kind of like love each other, tell each other anything. So that's really nice.
That's a cool message, because that's something that is so true, I think, about everything. Just like you said, there's that's why we're given this timeline span right here, is that things that were considered irreparable or maybe didn't work out, there's still time. And I think that's beautiful, because I definitely am one who, as I propel in this journey, I think it's important for me to come to an unconditional level of forgiveness. I do not, I'm not stating for narcissistic abuse or anything like that, you should advocate or go into a realm in which your relation with them. However, working things out, I think, is better than going cold turkey. I really do. I found that out, so I applaud that. It's beautiful. And that's like, it's still a work in progress, like everything is. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
So do you, back to your, the spirit that is of the little boy. So is he still in contact with you, and how often? And do you know a name or anything like that?
I don't know a name. He hasn't come through to me in a little while. Maybe like 6 or so months it's probably been now. Before that, he was coming to me like weekly, sometimes even every night. And I did have to say, like, because obviously I had so much going on, and in the last sort of like 9 months, I've like left my corporate job, I've moved states, I've like started my own business, I've like really got a lot going on. So it's kind of like, I love you, but I've got to sort like come back to me. So I feel like once everything sort of starts to settle, I know I'll be hearing from him more. It's really sweet. I don't know his name, but he's like got long shaggy hair. It's like blonde. He's really blonde. And he's got these cute, like big plump red lips. And he's got like the most cheeky little smile. And it's just funny because like I can see me in that. Like he's just like this little kind of shit, but like in like a really cute way, if you know what I mean. His energy is so beautiful, and and every time he's in a red and white stripy shirt, like every time, and he just comes up and he's just got this big smile, and he surely is beautiful. And people that know me talking about a kid like this will be like, what? Because I'm not a goo guy, but like this boy, like
yeah, I get it. And you know what? You can see, like I said, in your soul right now, your energy, it's like 100. It's unbelievable what we have to. And like you said, I appreciate that. But girl, you're in good company, because I appreciate that, though. If you were trying to explain it, and you know what it is, it's something that's so deep and personal and sacred. You or at least I would want somebody to at least understand that I'm serious about it. You know what I mean? That it means something to me. So I, hands down, that's funny, girl. So you're the one that is like, oh, diapers and kids. And so that's so cute that you're resonating. What do you bet you're going to definitely see in the future? If you do, like you said, maybe someone else, but maybe you, that exact little smile, because I got chills everywhere, and I saw your little face in a little, I really did. So, wow, that is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And so do you know what area? You were saying it was Scotland, and do you know what like time period was, like that kind of like Outlander time period? And
1800, definitely Outlander kind of I keep thinking Scotland, although it could be like Ireland, anywhere around there. And like my family descend from Britain and France and stuff, so I've definitely got a lot of draws over there. But yeah, for me, it's very Scotland, which is interesting. It was definitely like a king kind of vibe, and I was like the help, and it was like really frowned upon, and it was like a full like I don't know, maybe even like an affair situation. So it's crazy.
Oh. And you know what? Those are the details, I think, that really make you go, why would if I was going to make this up probably in my wildest dreams, I'd be like, oh, Cleopatra's servant. What? I don't know. These ones are personal.
I wouldn't be the slave. I would be the fucking queen.
Exactly. Right? Right. And so you feel that and you're like, wow. And it's just going on and on. So do you think that you would want to explore any other past lives? That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, definitely. 100% I do. I've dabbed my fingers like a few little ones. Like there's definitely one where I've been in like a tribe in like the real like ancient kind of Indian times. There's definitely something there. I haven't really dug too much yet. I do know that my sister, and this is really interesting, our souls have been together throughout a lot of different timelines. Like we've got we keep coming back for each other, which I think is really cool. And I know that because lots of dreams in like different eras, time periods. I've had people even like bring up in readings like, oh, you and your sister have like a really deep, like multi-leveled relationship, and it sucks because she's not someone that's quite into this.
Okay.
In this life, so it's like I'd love to like chat to her and talk to her about it, but I think it would just blow her head off a little bit. So it's
get regression, please get regression. That's what I was doing to my husband. I'm like, get it. Yeah, but that is wild and beautiful. Oh my goodness. Okay, so that is rad. There's a concept that the souls are interchangeable. Do you believe that could be true? Perhaps like your sister was your mother in a past life or something like that. Like that Brian Weiss, the book I read a while back, he believes that concept. So I'm curious. Yeah. I'm toying with that.
I guess I haven't really thought about that too much, but yeah, I guess so. Like I feel like our souls don't change, but our whole outer being can. So just like I could be a human, I could be a dog, I could be a man, I could be a female. So then like, why not could they be your sister or partner? It's a weird concept, I think, because obviously our human brain, how could my dad be my son suddenly? But why not? Just our soul.
Exactly. I'm with you. The ego mindset says creepy. Oh, I don't want to think about that, right? And then, but I say, well, okay. Like I'm just like you. I feel that that's 100%. And so, do you feel? Obviously, then that would answer the question. I do feel definitely gender for sure. I think that you can be another being on another, dimension or planet. Like your partner says, I think there's many alternate realities. I think we can be who we are identically, but maybe the opposite, like that movie Us. I don't know. I think that you can also, be a male, female, something like that. And so those are the conclusions I'm coming to. And I think that you said it right when you're like, I'm dipping my fingers. I want to take it slow because I get very obsessed and exuberant about things. And then it was beginning to overwhelm me because I'm like,
what is it? Yeah. I can't keep around. Like I believe I'd probably always be a human. So I'm like, there are people that think that they could come back as a flower and stuff. And I'm like, I guess, but like, I haven't quite got on board.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
What fascinates me is I stopped there too, girl, because you know why? Is the near-death experiencer testimony. A lot of them claim that, I saw my past lives and once I was a tree for hundreds of years. And I'm feeling that like just like the gender thing and all that, I'm feeling yes. But I'm like, oh, that's just odd for me to conceptualize, almost like the time and the linear time thing, that kind of thing. I'm like, But you know what? That is exactly what it did to me when I saw the vision, because I channel spirit and, you can sense, like you sense the little boy. But when I got the vision, the movie memory, I call it, it was like nothing I've ever seen before. And now that it had played, I feel like it is a real memory that's even more real than some of the ones in this, timeline where I just am like, oh, okay, I can go back and walk through it. You know what I mean? And so it was intriguing and it just gave me something in my personal truth. So I'm like, okay, so I'm ready. I'm open-minded always to digest if that's the case regarding plants and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So we might have one of those visions as a blade of grass and then there's no changing my mind. I've definitely been one. So you just
Right. Okay. So to leave off my beautiful friend, I will ask you the funniest question. If you were a dinosaur in the past life, what would you be? Would you be a Tyrannosaurus Rex? Would you be like a Stegosaurus? Would you be passive? Would you be a Bronchiosaur?
I'd be one of the ones that fly.
Ooh, pterodactyl. Me and you would be in the same.
But I'll be one of those like skinny flying ones, I think.
Oh, That's beast mode right there. I will be in your flock of pterodactyls. Let's go. That's my answer then.
That's your one.
Yeah. Oh my God. This was so fun and so enlightening. I love your story and I appreciate your testimony because just everything I've been experiencing. And I don't know why it took me a long time through this journey to dive into that, but it comes in the right stages, right? For all of us.
Fine timing. So it was meant to happen now.
Yeah. Anyway, you are amazing, and I will be sure to list appropriately. I'm really bad with housekeeping and that kind of stuff, but I'll list everything for everybody for your information. But you are rad, and we'll have to get together, all girls, and you'll have to hear Brittany's testimony, the near-death experience. She's wonderful.
I would love to.
All right,
class tomorrow.
Yay. Okay, love to Australia. Bye. Oh, thank you so much for the wishes on luck tomorrow. All right, girl. Bye-bye.